Hello.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Howdy.
Oh,
Hi.
Work.
hi, Kathleen.
Hi.
All right.
How are you? Hi, John.
Hello. It's been a while. All of
Yeah.
what, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah. Something like that.
How's your world, Kathleen?
Good. I'm getting done moving and I'm at the old house doing the last cleaning today. So it's happening. Yep.
Did you sell it, or is it going on the market? I imagine once you get out, you're going to put it on the market, huh?
Yeah. Yes. Monday, the crew comes in to do all painting and fix its stuff. And then it'll go on the market.
Exciting, I think. Yeah, I mean,
Yes. It is exciting.
Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Matthew.
Hi, John. Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Matthew.
Yeah, Zoom has been funky here this morning, so maybe it's just my computer being funky. That's probably what it is. Too many tabs open. Google, PowerPoint, Google and Microsoft, they don't like each other. All right. Well, I'll give a few minutes for others to come in, but like I hear, I am excited. Excuse me. Thank you. I'm excited about today and hear what I'm sharing today, or what we're going to walk through today, and a deeper dive, a little bit higher view, knowing that coming to the end here for me is like a wrap, a reclose here, and then I'm really excited about it. It went much deeper for me as I began opening this part of it up, and in the background, we'll be looking at is like what I'm noticing about how we create these beliefs and how we can get trapped in these beliefs and where they come from. And what it was just amazing dive for me into the biology and where they come from and how we're in them and how we so easily can get trapped in them. So just really excited to share that with you guys today. And in that is just my practice there. And I don't know how much it's going to be. So it's like my first launch into this, and there's a lot into it. And so I think we'll go and see where we end up. And I thank you for being here with me through this as I'm working through it and practicing is really what all of this is. So, but I will, before we start with that, I'll open it up if there's any questions or any thoughts or anything that anyone's triggered from the past or what they noticed, and just a place to give space for each of you, if you'd like.
Jess, I share that I'm in a good spot here on this Friday morning, and I'm ready.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello. I'll report that I just came from 3,500 feet, and now I'm at ground level, and excited to be on the call with you today. So.
Yeah, landed.
I landed. Stuck the landing.
Stuck the landing. Oh, well, thank you. Great to have you all here this morning. I was just let me get here set up. real quick here, just find my stuff, and I'm going to share my screen at some point later on. So just work so I can get set up there with that. All right. So what I'm going to work, here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about a little overview of the three memories again, the superconscious, the unconscious, and the self-conscious, where they came into existence, how they developed, and how they're the relationship of them. Because this relationship is a real background to seeing how all these work. Now, I'm not by any means trained in any of it. It makes sense to me. Yeah, from what I'm learning with this. And so I'm just sharing that out as my best as I am uncovering with that. Then we're going to look at like what we can do with the beliefs that are there. And I mean, you guys, we've talked about the recode. What we're really going is diving more into the mechanics and the science into the recode and what is it really doing in that. And so I'll start here with the talk about the superconscious. I also refer to it. Superconscious is a word that Chris Duncan has tagged for himself as he's discovered this communication process through 3 different mentors. And so he was working in 3 different areas. They were all talking about the same thing, this field of information, and using different languages, different terms, different definitions of really the same field of information. And it's really exciting that as I've stepped into understanding the science behind it, and seeing the language and how this all works. And so I'm using inside the container of the magnetic mind his language, and knowing that there's others out there that call it different things. At the end of the day, we're referring to the same types of things, just with language and how it works for us. All of it's part of us, part of our bodies, and part of our systems, and how we can communicate with them is really what I found has been my journey through that. And so the superconscious, I call it our super genius. Really, like, we can all say, oh, this is our intuition. This is our heart. This is the passion. And what's beautiful is this, that it's always been and always will be you. It's a part of you. And it was the information, it was the contractor, it was the blueprints that set you all up. It instructed how to divide your cells, how to produce your heartbeat, and it continues to inform our cells today. And so in all like reality, it was there when you were created. And it's one of 3 memories. And these 3 memories are all parts of you. And we're going to talk about how these memories came into existence and their relationship with each other. And what we do, even though it's all part of you, we put the distinctions on them so that we can separate and observe the roles between each other. And the superconscious was present when you were conceived, and it was passed down through your family and your whole family lineage. And it's been the whole building instruction. So it built you, it knows how you went together, and it knows, and it's still with you today. So what's beautiful, it's always been present, just like a seed, right? If we think of a seed, the seed is planted. Somehow the seed knows to turn into a tree. It has the information inside of it. And the superconscious is part of that field of information of life. They think that what their scientists are saying, like, whales, they know when to migrate and where to go and all of that. And they say that they assume that this is all part of that field of information, that matrix, and it's all around in humanity. And the other 2 memories that we talk about are the unconscious, which is our automatic processor. And this developed about the 3rd trimester. They figured the 3rd trimester in your mother's womb. And this is the part of us that gets automatically trained by our patterns. And what is not thought of is that the unconscious is responsible for all of the decisions that we make. Now, we think it's the self-conscious. We think that we're thinking through and going to make the decision, but what they found is that actually we are, just before we make a program, the unconscious lays out what is the best decision for us. And so it is really the one that is making the decisions, is the unconscious. And no one, like, there's nothing there running the show of this, because it's just a pattern. It's just a constant pattern seeker. And what it'll do, as long as at survival is really what the unconscious is working through. And it's going to seek pleasure and avoid the pain. And then so what we'll notice first is that those two have been present since really the beginning for us. And in that, then the third part, the third one is the self-conscious, which is our logical thinking, our ego brain that was developed, they figure around age 4. And it's the individual part of us that is able to see and make sense of the patterns that are there. And and so here's what the key thing to remember in this is, that all of these memories and their timing is significantly important in our development. And that we created it all. We created everything. All right, I'll pause there because I'm going to shift over here to present on the screen in case there's any questions with that. There's a whole lot more that all of the parts control and work through, but from a simplistic standpoint, that's what we'll cover with it today.
So Jesse, can I reiterate? So I want to make sure that I listen what you said. So the superconscious, or the genius, was there, like we were created into it, like it pre-exists us, and then, but that's not what the second part was the one that I missed the distinction between, like, where it nests inside of the superconscious part. The second part you described as the
Unconscious.
Unconscious, and it's the automatic patterns, but it's unique to us. Like, it doesn't predate us. It was formed at a very early age, but it's unique to us. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, it is.
And it's our patterns, like it's our automatics. It's ours, but we're running a pattern, like a script that kind of is coding that is there unconsciously. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. It is the patterns part of us, and what they figure it's somewhere. The math is off a little bit, but they do figure it's up to 99% of everything that our body does to stay alive is controlled by the unconscious part of it, by these patterns. And so, our patterns, they're always deleting stuff, right? The things that are no longer there and working. And so it's real key is the real component of the unconscious is for survival, to maintain survival. And so that's the big key to the unconscious.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. All right, and so like as we have these three memory, and so like really, so if we think about it, really, like we were born, popped out of the womb, a baby, right? We're all babies now, right? We popped out of the baby, and we have our superconscious and our unconscious are only two systems that are working for about 4 years, roughly, right? And they're going through, and what we can see is when we look at babies are in such wonder, such curiosity. And what it is, it's like, this is the what the superconscious is like. It's like they are just going through the world trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, like, how do I fit in? We'll go into the whole human journey here a little bit later, but it's what's constantly going on is that we're always moving information between these two, but they always flow through the unconscious, because this is the one that's creating the decisions, which is creating the beliefs, which then are just a set of instructions of how it is for us. So we're always pulling information around how it is. And usually, like now as adults, most of the time we're just using the self-conscious and unconscious component, and we're pulling information from our past patterns. And this is creating our reality. And so this is where our habits come from. This is where our patterns come from. And shaping our reality, shaping our beliefs. I'll get into here. I think when I get into this a little bit more visual, it'll show up a little better. I do have to present this, sorry. All right. Getting my Google Sheet to present, and I'm going to share you my screen. But then I have to find you for. Okay. You guys, you guys can see that okay?
Still spooling for me.
Okay. Let me know when it pops up.
Yep, got it now.
Got it.
Got it. I've got something.
Something's there. Good. Maybe, right? There we go. Okay, so here, what I'm working to just share here is that look, the three different consciousness, all of this wrapped up really makes you. All of this is where our beliefs come from, and what the beliefs are is really our set of instructions. And what it is like, as we go through our beliefs, we figure out which ones work, which ones create our satisfaction, our pleasure, and which ones don't. And this becomes how it is for us. And the beautiful thing that's here is that we created it all. And what that means is, like, we created it, which means we made a decision to believe that, to have it be that way, which means that we can recreate it. We can change it. And so the beliefs are a set of instructions, and what we go through these beliefs is as we go through and see things that we get what we want, it produces satisfaction, we just say, yes, it is that way. Yes, that is how it is. We don't, especially at a young, and here what I'm working at, guys, is a real young age, like real young, like maybe the first couple of years, if it isn't already beforehand. But it's real young that we're going through, and what we're gonna point to, we're gonna come out at, is where did these self-sabotaging identities show up? How did they get there? Because the ones that got there for us is what everything else has been built upon. So if you think of it like our scared self as roots, like through our system, the roots come down to our core beliefs, these sabotaging beliefs that everything is based on because of an experience we had in the past, usually at a very young age. And so if you think about it, is it true that we, like even today, it's very rarely do we really challenge our core beliefs. We just accept them. It's like, oh, yep, that is what it is. Because it shapes our reality. The reality, it's almost like I was thinking about this as our reality. It's like it's our virtual reality goggles, right? That we run around with, and so we put these goggles on, and then we go run out in the street, right? Go run around, go for a run. But these beliefs are what really shapes our reality. And I'm not saying this is good or bad by any means. It's just like, this is how it works for us. And then what we're always constantly refining them is for increased satisfaction, decreased pain, go for pleasure away from pain. And so as these beliefs are here, these are our instructions, and then it says, yes, this is how it is. We set it in as like, this becomes our reality. And then what we're doing is then we start looking for where this is to validate, to reinforce. And so it is always what our beliefs are becomes our reality. We're reinforcing that. And this is just a always going pattern all the time. A beautiful system. Just sometimes it doesn't always work effectively in all domains. And that's what we're working on today, or like looking into, is like, where did these come from? So really, this is the whole process around how our beliefs come. We see it. It is only, yes, it is this way. This becomes our reality. This is the lens, the view in which we see the world. Then we look for validation that just reinforces those beliefs again. And we just keep going in and out all the way around. And what this can turn into, especially as we'll talk about the human journey, and when we're wounded, wounded is a good thing. I think wounded is part of humanity, is what it's part of the journey, it's part of humans' journey. But what can happen is we have our sabotaging patterns that we've identified as, there's 6 core ones that we talk about, is I'm not good enough, I don't belong, I'm insignificant, I'm not capable. Those 6 are the base, are the roots that all the other fears, you could call them, are based upon. And what's awesome is that we created all of these patterns. And these are the limitations that we can hold on to if we want to. They're yours, right? They're yours to hold on to if you want to.
Did the unconscious or the self-conscious create them?
Good. Well, great question. We'll jump into that. We're gonna get to that, but really what it is that to cope with this wounding, to cope with this moment, because as a child, right, if you think about it, we're coming to the world with this, it's really the superconscious and the unconscious are the 2 that are operating for the first 4 years. And as they come into the world, they're just, a baby's just curious, right? Just wandering around, looking at everything, learning, just figuring out how to fit in. And then at some point, and as we're figuring to fit in, if you think we came from a point where we were super conscious, we had the unconscious show up in that, and in the mother's womb, we only knew unconditional love. We didn't know anything else. And that was part of what got programmed into our unconscious, is that we had everything that we wanted, provided by our mothers. And then we were born through this event, like coming out into the world. And as we come out into the world, and as we learn to fit into our systems, learn what it is to be an individual, we get wounded at some point. And this wounding is what, and then we created the self-conscious. The self-conscious is the part of us that is there to cope with the wounding. So that was kind of the high level to the question, Cindy, but it is like the self-conscious was in a way created for dealing with this wounding, this realization that we're not the super genius that we were. Now we're an individual, we're a human being, right? That is now having an experience that we're trying to make sense of.
Hey, Jesse, can I ask a question?
You bet, Matthew.
So the way that I'm listening to it, and out of Cindy's question, the self-conscious and the unconscious are on and operating. And then there's an event that, or a situation or something happens, and the superconscious and unconscious are like unable to cope with it. And so the self-conscious steps in to create an interpretation and a story, which creates a new belief of the way reality is.
Yes. Now, from the
Yeah. I don't like how I said that last part, but it creates an interpretation of whatever happened.
yeah, here I'm going to add. I'll add a little bit more to it. I think Matthew. The superconscious and unconscious would be fine running around like with curiosity, like it would be curious as a baby, but it's so difficult for survival that way. And that the evolution of our self brain allows for the evolution of the self-conscious to exist. So here's what I'll add to your question with it, is that for the wounding, the self-conscious showed up to make sense of what just happened. Because no longer do we have love. It's like with the superconscious and the unconscious, as they're working together, all we're doing is creating. Like as a baby, we're just in pure awe and wonder. We haven't quite put in our perspectives. Now, we couldn't survive in the world today if those two were the only ones that were there. I mean, we could. It's just our part of our evolution. We can't go back on the evolution, right? For this thinking brain. What the issue is that we get trapped in just the thinking, the self-conscious and unconscious loop without considering the superconscious any longer, the intuition, as we develop into the adulthood. I don't know if I answered that. I think I circled around. I think I might come back into it again because I'm going to go deeper into this, guys. And so, but go ahead, Matthew.
No, that's I'm complete for now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And if I don't answer it in the next couple of slides, then we can definitely come back to it. And so like between 0 and 4, right, as we're going through it, really it's just these two minds, just these two memories are the ones that are exploring life. As a child, learning how to fit in, how to belong. And what we're doing with this is even these two memories are creating this for us. Right? We're learning, we're experimenting, we're just learning as a child. And you think of how many as a baby's developing, how much they are learning. This is why they're able to learn, is this process. And again, not saying like all beliefs are bad, but it's just the ones that are ineffective now as adults. So we're looking at the decisions that were made as a child that no longer serve us as adults. And so as we got wounded, the self-conscious comes in, and the self-conscious starts to really, at the age of 7, starts to come in and say, oh, nobody's running this ship. Nobody's in charge. I'm going to take charge. I'm going to jump in and become captain. And so you can think of now that the captain becomes the ego brain that is then like working with the unconscious around how we're going to cope in the world. And this is like how we begin to start making up our stories, creating our stories, our beliefs, our realities of how we're fitting into the world, still with the same belief structure. This belief structure is constantly in the background. And if you think of these structures, we can just start to begin to notice that our patterns or our structures become ineffective after going for what we want. Because as we started out all we did was we were just always going for what we wanted. That was all we knew. And then in the wounding, we came to a point, this is just one of them. I don't know, like we all have different ones. We can't specifically say which one was, we can't say when this specific event created our wounding, or it was this one that was for me. It's kind of, it's all different, but the process, the mechanics is that it happens is what happens is that we went from a super conscious, from having it all, to an individual that says, oh, I now can't have what I want. And in that is, oh, now we've come down and now the ego, the thinking, the conscious brain is there to show up, to cope with this, to work with this mechanism of like, what do you mean I can't have what I want? And this is where the development of our stories between the ages of 4 and 7 begin to take off. And so as we go, and again, like this core wound, these core beliefs, these core woundings are all there. And as we grow up, these beliefs have all been based and in the direction of what we've all like desired to do. Because the superconscious is just there to tell us like, this is what you're here for. This is the instructions. This is your passion. This is your heart. This is what you're here to do. These are your instructions. And for our first 4 years, that's how we lived. And then we got wounded. The self-conscious and unconscious took over. Self-conscious, the captain took over. And we ran with those beliefs. And what happens as we think about what we're wanting to go for or what we desire, because that was so young with us, it was developed right around the same time that these woundings were. And so that was what always has us so afraid of what we really want, what we truly desire, what we really love to create in the world. And so what as a result of that in our society today, as we grow up and let's say, okay, now I'm 43, we come in here and what we're looking to do is like, oh, we're always in this area of trying to fix ourselves. Right? There's something wrong with us. We feel that we're broken, we're insignificant because of these core beliefs, because of this core wounding. And so what happens is like the whole, like what up until this science, this development of the superconscious is that we would always come in here and try and change the way that we think, change the way that we act. We would go back to these, we would always go farther back on these fear paths or what we're afraid of and archaeological dig of our past and try and uncover where did this wounding happen? Well, like we can think of this as therapy. This is anything to help. Like what we're trying to do is let go of the past is a real that's that personal development or fix ourselves. And what we're the problem that we're doing with. Can you guys hear me all right? I'm getting.
Yes.
There's a feedback coming through somewhere. Okay.
I kept hearing a little bit. Now I don't think it's any of you guys. I don't think it's any of you. I think it's my mic. So I think you guys are okay. If it gets too annoying, just let me know. And so like here we'll work. This is in the premise that we have put on ourselves that, oh, we're broken and that we need to fix ourselves. We need to go do these things and really are reinforcing sabotaging patterns that we've talked about that keeps us from what we want. And here's like the biggest aha that I can pull out of this is that we're always focusing on the self-conscious. The self-conscious was produced because of it. So the event happened even before that. So in order to know, like get before this wounding, the ego mind, the ego brain wasn't even there. The ego, the self-conscious was recreated because of this event. Yes, the unconscious was there, but the unconscious just performs. It just acts. It's just the pattern. And so like the personal development therapy, all of these, we're always focusing on the self-conscious of going back with the thinking mind to fix this problem. But in all reality, the thinking mind was a result of that wounding. And so what the recode is working on is coming back to the superconscious, because it has always been there. It was there when it was all created. And this is the part that we can come back to and say, oh, now we can create a new decision here, a new situation, a new perspective. And when we create a new perspective, look, we're just creating another perspective. It can shift that whole wounding, all of that identity, that sabotaging identity out of the way, so that we can go for what we want, for what we desire, for what we love. And so instead of doing an archaeological dig on all of our past, on all of our emotions, all of that, which is what the past, like that is what we've had to do. Now we can be just, oh, that is what it is. And we can, rather than using the self-conscious to diagnose and find the problem, we connect into the superconscious to who was present there and just notice that it can make a new decision, redecide. And that redecision then just becomes part of the unconsciousness, becomes part of the habits. And this is a structure of why everything feels like a struggle. We all have this structure. Beautiful. So that's the superconscious was there during the original event. That's why the connection to the superconscious is to help see what resistance that we put up, what beliefs are in the way, what is keeping us from what we want. It's a big boulder, right? All these things are there. And so working with the superconscious and the unconscious allows for us to remove this resistance that was there. It was there for a reason. It was perfect at the time. It was just a decision that we created that we needed to make, and we didn't know all of the other possibilities that were there. So the superconscious was there, can come in and help the unconscious see that there's different decisions that could be made. The thing is that the self-conscious, so the superconscious and your unconscious is it all. It's everything. It's all of you. It's been there the whole time. The whole time that we've created all these beliefs about, I can't do that, I don't deserve, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, was there the whole time, that all of them have been built upon the originals. But the ego is not it. It has not been there. It is not all of it. It is a limited perspective of making sense of the world. And unfortunately, so the self-conscious is the lowest level of consciousness, and that wounding and that ego keeps us trapped as a victim to our circumstances. I'm going to see what's next here. Just bear with me a second. Okay, good. I thought that was the end of it for that anyway. I'll pause there, a lot there.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Eric.
hey, Jess. So I, you know, this is great. Thank you, by the way. You're the way you went through it there with that little diagram. It just keeps connecting this for me better and better. Like I've heard Chris talk, I've heard you speak, like, and that was really good. That really was very logical for my brain anyway. So thank you. The place that I like where I go to is I go, yep, oh, perfect, yeah, cool. Oh, it opens up new thinking. And then it's like there's this place where we go, now we're gonna go talk to the super conscious. You know, now we're gonna tell this self or this energy or this whatever you call it, you know, this me that was there, to disengage my subconscious in certain areas and let itself free is like how I'd say it.
Yeah.
But that connection to the superconscious, that you could connect to it, or that I could, or that another person, that's where I struggle. I go, what is that? What is that weird thing? Right. So that's what I wanted. I don't know what to say about it, Jess, but I can say that it feels freeing to think about it. Like it feels like, oh, cool. But I don't know. That's like a little mystical to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the best answer that I can come up with is that when our ego mind is constantly looking for validation and judgment, we can't listen to it. We won't listen to it. We don't allow ourselves to listen to it. And that is,
okay.
So we have, there's a place to learn. We like really to change the way of our being is to let the ego, let the ego brain not have to know.
Ah, cool. Okay. Yeah. Because it's exactly what I'm doing, right? It's that the ego brain is in my case, my ego brain is taking over. It's saying, you know, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, Eric, or whatever it's saying, right? It's forcing me to have an answer. If there's no answer, well, then it's not there, or whatever. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that being able to let go of all these beliefs, right? All these patterns, it's letting go of all of our past because this is our reality. It's like we have to let go of that to be able to listen to a very subtle, very different type of energy that comes through that we used to listen to as a child. We have a relationship there. It's just the world and making sense of the world. And like for me, stopping to listen to that and just going for this, we have to learn to let that ego, that judger, that validator, that look at me, look good. I have to always look good. I can't be vulnerable. We have to let that guard down, let that go so that the rest of it can come out.
Yeah. Cool.
So I had two thoughts on, like, Eric, thanks for that question, because like you pointed to something that like I couldn't quite even as I'm saying it, I'm like, I couldn't get it. And it's like, okay, well that's it. That's the point exactly. And it what it made me think of is like there's 100%, you know, whatever 100% of the universe is, and then I'm created, and there was 100%, and I'm in that, but now I've created this singular self that I am. So 100% of what I know or what I have access to isn't necessarily 100% of what is in the universe, right? Like I put this bubble around me, and now I've made that 100%, and it's like am I open to allowing that there's something outside of me, which is finite, that's available to me, that
You know, Cindy, what I listened is like outside, it's like inside me. Am I open to the fact that there's something inside me that is outside of me, if that makes any sense?
I'm not aware of it 100% of what I am.
Yeah. It's like not, universe too, but like where is my egoic brain and the many selves I have, the many scared selves I have, stopping the creative, super fun, innovative Eric that comes out once in a while. Where is it getting stopped by the egoic brain saying, oh, in those situations you can be you, but this one, no, because you know how that works. It stops and it doesn't work and you fail, or whatever the hell it says to me. And it's likely in the subconscious, so it doesn't say anything to me. I don't even hear it. It just happens. Like that's kind of what I'm starting to see there, Cindy. And I tell you, I can feel. I've seen differences since we've been talking, Jesse, about, or I'll just say I noticed, like what I would just call joyous situations for myself, where the funnest, whatever word I can use, the funnest, most love-filled parts of me, like like that was fun. It was awesome. Like the little thing happened, here and there. And it was like, oh, I don't know what that means exactly. Like, what do you do? If I could walk around like that, I don't know if I give a shit where I was or what I was doing. If I could walk around like that, I mean, it was little tidbits of it,
Glimpses.
There you go, glimpses of it.
So those glimpses is like, you can think of signals. Those are signals, and it's like, oh, like that's important, that matters, and those are just signals for what we're doing. And all of our feelings are signals. It's just we're not used to listening and interpreting what the signals are. And what really what the journey here that I'm working to do is come back and connect to that super conscious that I and we all once were.
Purity, the purity of a 3 or 4 year old,
Innocence.
Just absolute purity, absolute pure, no bullshit, no making up stories, no fighting with language, no, you can't have whatever it was, Yeah.
Creating what you want, because everything else is a distraction. True creation. This is true creation. This is creating. This is creating.
Yeah. When I've been in that situation, like I've told you about this, Jess, but I'll just speak this because it's like, I don't know, I just hope that maybe it triggers somebody to notice something. But like those few times I've been in that situation since we've been talking, last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I'll notice that people around me are different. Now, obviously, as we know, we study language with Toby, and are they different? Am I different? Like, I don't know, but I notice them differently. Like I don't know how to say it. Like, when it's going to go down some other path, some negative or something, it just doesn't go there. It's like, I don't know what to say about it. But other people around me, it feels like are different too. Whatever that means.
Eric, what you just triggered in me, like I think I've noticed the same thing, and it's like when I get those glimpses, my defenses are down. And people can just they can be who they are. That's not it. Like they're.
It's attractive. It's very attractive.
No, it's like, yeah. That's it. That's good.
Magnetic.
It's magnetic. Okay, yeah. They want to create too, kind of. When I'm in that, Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
like they're wanting to create too. They're not holding back or whatever they do, right? I don't know. That's at least that's how it looks.
And their creation is not a threat to me.
Yeah.
It is to the ego.
Yeah, sure. Ego wants to be the one with the idea.
Wants to be right. Wants to look good.
Yeah, wants to be
the
ego
captain.
Wants to be the lead innovator.
The captain.
Yeah.
That's great. Can I share one other thing that just showed up in between when Cindy and Eric were talking, and Cindy talked about like the universe, that like that's the 100%. And then as the self-conscious created this bubble around you of what you think is 100%. Like the way I'm listening to Jesse, like what you're describing is, we're trying to get back to that 100%, but the methods that we've been employing in the past perhaps are we're using the very structure that created our bubble to try to pierce that bubble.
That's a good way to say it. That's cool. Yeah.
And that structure will fight piercing that bubble.
Yeah. There's a book that you sent, that John sent, called The Power of Now. I've been listening. I'm my second time listening to it, and the dude talks about these egoic selves or these egoic brains or personalities, like defending themselves in your brain. Like, that's a weird way to say it, but that's what it does. Like, oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Here, I'll add a little language to that. And so those are unresolved emotions. They're unresolved emotions. And when we can resolve those emotions, that charge that's on them, that's just an emotional charge that we created. When we can undo that charge, we can keep the wisdom, and that part can be settled. And that's how we use this superconscious to come in there, because the superconscious was there, sees all that was in the way and what needs to be shifted so that we can move the rocks out of the way of the water so that we can flow for what we want. And that is what we're talking about when resistance. That's what we're talking about working with the superconscious, noticing what we put, the decisions, the beliefs that we put in the way, going for what we want as we were becoming an individual and learning to fit into this world.
Well, in your diagram where you had the dashed red line around the belief system and the reality, that loop, I'm not a physicist or a mathematician by any stretch, but it occurred to me, Einstein, you can't solve a problem from the same thinking that created it. And that's all the self-help kind of work is, like trying to from inside deal with that dashed red line, which by definition is sort of an uncrossable, immovable boundary if you're trying to solve it from that philosophy, because I created those beliefs and that reality feedback. So I can't just tackle it at that level. You're speaking about just setting all that aside, coming in from a completely different orientation. And then when you have access, and I keep using the 100%, I know that even is a finite thing, but there's like all this unknown, available wisdom maybe, or thinking, or power that the little dashed lines become sort of inconsequential from that place. So yeah.
Cool. And it's great, because that is what locks us into the victim to our circumstances. And it just, we get bombarded constantly with it, and the bombardment, the silent instructions under it all is that we're not enough. We're not good enough, that we need to be fixed, that we're broken. And that takes the power away from us being the creative, the powerful creator that we are.
What occurs to me here is the self-conscious to change has to say that it's wrong. And to be wrong, I don't know about you guys, but that's not the first thing that comes to my mind that I want to say out loud. I do it, but it takes effort. And the more wrong I have to be, the harder it is to get it out and create change. Until it's there, I create stories to self-preserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it isn't really just that I have to set that aside, but it may be that creating something new, more powerful, that serves me more, wholeheartedly now, or more appropriately now. Like whatever worked as a 3-year-old, I get that I'm still behaving like a 3-year-old, but maybe that's not the most powerful way to be. So yeah.
Yeah, it happens really quick too. You know, it's like it just boom, 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 boom. You're like, whoa, what was that? Like, it's hard to be reflective in the moment of what you just said, John. Or the way I listen to it, like you have to. It happened so quick, I can't even notice that I went bang, 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 and then I gotta go, well, what was that? Like, why did I get angry? Why did I? What? Like, you know, it's just deep in you, you know, or whatever.
You have a lot of practice.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
We keep playing the same patterns over and over. We just play the same patterns.
Yeah. You know, when you say focus on what you want, though, that single thing, when it's like, to me, the distinction between like having 10 million bucks in the bank, or when I start talking about my existential purpose, like my children and my wife, and like the difference. I'll tear up with one, the other one I go, I get the money, you know, or whatever it is. Like, existential purposes get real in a hurry, right? So like that distinction between those two for me is like when you talk about getting what you want, and I get fully into like, this is what I'm after and why, like really fully, like an existential purpose of what I want, like that. That's the time I noticed, Jesse, that I cannot be I can be connected forward into that, and less connected to the automatics that we were just talking about with John. Like, they don't show up as much. It's like, yeah, get out of the way. It was like over here, you know. It's when I'm just not as thoughtful about it. I don't know if there's obviously practice to it. I that I don't know yet, you know.
Well, what's beautiful is that like you're exactly right. We're creating energy, and we create energy with our stories and our emotions. They have to go together. And if we're not emotional, about like we don't have a feeling about what we're going to do, the creation, it's so much easier. The energy is so much greater where we're at to resist it than it is to go for it. And so we're trying to resolve tension always. And we have so much psychological tension where we're at now with our ego, that it's so hard to overcome that creative tension for what we want. And our whole life has been everything that we want. We've been trying to avoid it because we're so scary, because that's how we got wounded.
Especially back then when we were super vulnerable, like, or we couldn't do much else. I mean, when you're 2 and 3, it's like, no, the answer when the big person says no, there's nothing. It's no. There's no invent your way around it. There's just cry and throw a temper tantrum or whatever. But you just, yeah.
I can't have what I want. The number
Period.
one childhood rule that we keep with us today, number one belief that we keep with us, is that I can't have what I want. It was a good thing. Like we had to, as a kid, it was there, but it's now that we're adults, like, well, let's let go of that belief. We don't need that belief anymore.
Yeah.
So what just triggered me, like the tantrum is a creation of a way to get what you want.
Yes.
Says the guy with young kids.
And like now as an adult, and like the no was one, like you can't have that, like it's dangerous, or, you know, whatever it is. But two, the part of the no is you need to come up with another way of expressing how to get what you want, or like you need to come up with a new strategy for getting what you want. And so like now as an adult, and like that can go any number of directions, right? You can become a bullshitter, you can become a liar, you can continue to throw tantrums. And as I'm speaking this, I feel myself getting stopped and like locked in the self-conscious of like you have to learn a way like that there's a like that the self-conscious is the creator of the way to get what you want. Like that is what as I'm speaking that, I'm talking myself into that position. And like and what I'm hearing here is like that's not the self-conscious is the limiting sort of entity that squashes creation.
It's
It's
the
it's
put
what
the
it's
wall.
the source of the no
Yeah.
now. It's telling you no.
Yeah. It can't go that way. It can't go that way. We can't have it this way. And then we've been telling our body that same story. So our cells, our body is addicted to it and believes it as well. And the unconscious is back there going like, I'll go with you. I can't, like, I'm not going to fight you. I'll go with you.
So Jeff, as you move into like a time of creation, it eventually comes into your consciousness, right? I mean, like that throws me a little, like I could say it may be coming from another place or coming from just a way I'm thinking or a way I'm being in that moment.
Mhm.
But then it comes into consciousness and becomes real, like through actions, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not just back there.
What's it?
It's the story, the idea, the creation, the invention,
Yeah.
you know, it moves into consciousness. Like consciousness, what I was listening when you said there, Matthew, was like your consciousness almost, I see that it can be an enemy, like to me, or kind of an enemy or a blocker, like you said. But then at some point, the creation comes into the consciousness too, right? And then we can make it real and act with it. Or what do you say about that, Jess? I don't know.
So here's something that just pops in as you say, my intuition says to go do this talk, to go make this
Yeah.
speech somewhere. And it's like,
Got
it's like, boom, it just popped in, right? It just dropped in the middle of me. And then all of a sudden my ego jumps into it. My unconscious, they come in and be like, well, you're not good enough. You can't go do that. You can't be part of it. And then we begin to shift it and pull it away from where where we're going. And so that's the part of the loop of always coming back to our old patterns. We just get looped in our old patterns.
Right.
Rather than just going like, okay, I surrender. Let's go do that. I don't know why. Let's throw on this 6-week series. I don't know why. I'm just going to go do it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but let's go.
Well, let's go right there. That's what I was getting at. Like that is now in your consciousness. Don't have the answer why, to your point. I'm going to let go of having to have a why, because that's probably what's going to be the thing that stops me. You know, so I won't try to answer why. But then I got to bring it. You got to do a slide, Jess. You have to do a slide. You have to get a Zoom call. Like that's all consciousness to me, or not. I mean, or what do you? I don't know. I don't want to get too. I'm not trying to mix hairs or split hairs or get weird, but it's like letting that come into your consciousness and act with it. It seems like
in the physical domain, real shit has to happen in order for that
that's
new reality.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And doing, and I know we're at time, so if you do have to jump, please feel free to go. Like nothing there. I lost it, but that's okay.
I have a story to share that
Thank you.
That may help here. This was middle of December. My wife and I and my boys, we were driving from looking at Christmas lights. And we were going to eat dinner. We're very hungry because we're an hour past dinner time and we're driving, and we're in a part of town that we don't normally go through very often. And I turned to my wife and I said, "In-N-Out sounds good." In-N-Out's a burger place out here in California. And as far as I knew, the nearest In-N-Out was many blocks away from where we were, and we had already decided we were going somewhere else. But I said to her, "In-N-Out sounds good." And she says, "Why'd you say that?" I don't know. Well, I got to looking around, and a restaurant behind us was being remodeled. It used to be Coco's, but it was being remodeled to be an In-N-Out. I didn't see it the first time I looked. Well, my self-conscious didn't see it. It just manifests as, I want In-N-Out. And as I look back, there's the white, bright building with the red stools and all the stuff that goes with the restaurant. But my unconscious said, In-N-Out sounds good.
It picks up so much more than what your senses can see. And then, yeah, that was definitely, that was part of your patterns, right? It was like, oh. Yep.
So John, what you're bringing forth there is an example of how your self-conscious or egoic mind can not let it come into your language while your subconscious actually saw it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's my story
Is that
about
what
it.
you're noticing? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, my story is my biology can take in so much more data than my self-conscious can process. And a message was sent up, you're hungry, and this is a good place when you're hungry. You like it better than where you're headed.
I'll take In-N-Out over Coco's too.
We were going to Arby's.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But it's way better than the Coco's. In-N-Out's way better than the Coco's that it is now. Yeah. However, I'm trying to get that out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's a cool example. Thank you. You wonder what I'm missing.
Like, well, again, like we only can, like our self-conscious can pick up about 1% of what our unconscious can process. And in part of the whole universe, they figure we know 10% of everything. Like not like humanity as a whole would like know 10%. Yeah. So with that, I know we're over. Thank you for being there. Yeah, I thought this was really good. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks for
Thank you,
teeing it up,
Jess.
man.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
I'll hang around if you guys want,
Everybody.
but like I got some time to hang around if you want. Otherwise, everybody else, I mean, you're all free to go. Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks,
Have a great
Jesse.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, Kathleen.
I don't know how to get out. Bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Okay.